It is my pleasure to welcome you to this lecture on Consilience, the powerful principle of converging evidence. Today, we will explore how independent and unrelated sources, when pointing to the same conclusion, create a far stronger and more reliable result than any single source alone. Through this approach, I will demonstrate how consilience transforms scattered data points into a unified, structured reconstruction, bringing legends, archaeology, geography, and science together into one coherent picture. Let us begin by understanding what consilience is and why it is essential in reconstructing historical realities. At this stage in the reconstruction process, I want to introduce a fundamental scientific and historical principle, consilience, also called the convergence or concordance of evidence. Consilience is the idea that when independent, unrelated sources of evidence all point to the same conclusion, that conclusion becomes much stronger and more reliable, even if no single source is overwhelming by itself. This principle is essential for robust research. It's based on the unity of knowledge. If you measure or investigate the same question using several different, independent methods, and they all lead to the same answer, you can be far more confident in the result. In the context of my research, this means I draw evidence from multiple, unrelated sources: textual analysis, archaeology, geography, linguistics, climate studies, and more. Each line of evidence, on its own, might not be decisive. But when these different sources independently converge, when the puzzle pieces all fit together, the combined weight of the evidence produces a much stronger, more convincing reconstruction. This is the power of the puzzle model. It doesn't rely on any one clue, but on the concordance of many independent clues. Consilience is what transforms a collection of scattered facts into a unified, structured object, a third order signified that can stand up to scientific and historical scrutiny. This slide illustrates the concept of consilience, the convergence of evidence, using an intersection diagram. In this diagram, each ellipse represents one of the second-order signifieds or key properties extracted from narrative, symbols, or evidence. Each property can be independently identified somewhere in the world, but what's important is where these properties overlap. For example, one ellipse stands for the presence of plentiful elephants. Historically, elephants are native to Africa, South Asia, and Southeast Asia. Another ellipse represents a two-season climate, wet and dry. This kind of climate is found in Central America, Central Africa, South Asia, and Southeast Asia. If we intersect just these two ellipses, the only region they both share is Southeast Asia. Now imagine repeating this process for all of the identified properties, all the second-order signifieds. Some ellipses might have broad ranges, and some properties might individually be weak or ambiguous. But as we add more ellipses, each representing an independent clue, the area where they all overlap becomes more and more focused. The result? The intersection of all these ellipses, the zone of maximum overlap, points clearly to Southeast Asia as the only region in the world where all these independent properties are found together. This is the power of total consilience. Even if a single property isn't decisive, the intersection of many independent clues, each one a second-order signified, gives us a strong convergent conclusion. It's this convergence or consilience of evidence that provides a robust and objective foundation for identifying the true location of the research object. Not just speculation, but a result that emerges from the overlap of multiple unrelated lines of evidence. The image at the top of this slide represents a building whose main structure has been successfully reconstructed using its scattered structural components. I have labeled this structured reconstruction. Just as in engineering, if one or more main structural components are removed or fail to fit, the entire building becomes unstable and may collapse. This principle applies directly to my theory. If one or more of the main structural components, the core pieces of evidence or fundamental arguments, cannot support the reconstruction, then the theory itself loses its foundation and would collapse. Conversely, when all the structural components, especially the main ones, mutually support each other, the building stands firm and strong. That's why I then relabel the image as comprehensive mutual structured reconstruction. This final label signifies that every element of the theory is interconnected and collectively robust, making the entire reconstruction not only possible, but reliable and enduring. In conclusion, Consilience reminds us that truth is most reliably found where multiple, independent paths of inquiry meet. By combining evidence from many disciplines, each a separate piece of the puzzle, we create a reconstruction that is stronger, more stable, and far less dependent on any single argument. This mutual reinforcement transforms theories from fragile to enduring, from speculative to well-founded. Thank you for your attention, and I hope this perspective inspires you to seek convergence in your own research, allowing independent lines of evidence to guide you toward a confident and compelling conclusion.